Next we have Jarret Simmons, Assistant Director of the Aviation Planning for the Houston Airport System, to give us a presentation.
Brief. Normally this presentation I'm going to give you takes about 10 minutes to 15 minutes, but I have 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to compress everything. Okay, thanks. If you have any questions, please stop me as I'm going through the presentation, because if we wait to the end, you probably would have forgotten your question. So I'm going to get started, but first I want to acknowledge one of my colleagues who's here, Mrs. Rhonda Arnold, who's head of our community relations, who's here with me today. First, I'm going to tell you, before I get started, I also want to tell you a little bit about what I do. I'm in charge of planning for the Houston Airport System. Quite often people are like, well, what does planning do? What I do, I look at the long-range vision for the airport. Before we get to engineering or construction, I'm the first stop for our projects. So I'm looking out 5, 10, 15, 20 years for the airport system. People often ask me, well, how did you get into that? I kind of fell into it 18 years ago. But I've worked at about 40 airports around North America, from Canada to the Caribbean. I did all over before joining the Houston Airport System. So that just gives you a little bit of background about me. Now, I'm going to talk about 6 main points. Terminal B construction, which is going on right now, and if you drive through our terminal complex, you'll see steel going up for Terminal B. The Airbus 380, which is the world's largest airplane, that's going to be coming in about 30, I think we're down to about 33, 34 days now. Terminal D improvements, our international terminal, we have some interim improvements going on, and we're looking at some major long-range renovations for that terminal. And then I'm going to talk about other projects we have coming up in the next couple of years. First is Terminal B. Terminal B, if you've ever taken a 50-seat, one of the small regional jets out of Intercontinental, which people hate taking those aircraft, Terminal B is one of our original terminals. We have, and I'm going to go to the next slide, right now we have what we call the banjos, these little round hole rooms, weight rooms, which were state of the art in 1969, but they're kind of crappy today. And the problem they're crappy is because when they were built in 1969, they were a good idea because you only had about 3 or 4 larger aircraft that were parked at each pod. Right now what we do, or what United does, they put about 15 at each pod, and so, instead of having 300-400 people in each waiting room, you now have 500-700 people in each waiting room, which is not a good experience. Particularly when it comes down to the restrooms, where you only have 3 or 4 stalls for those hundreds of people. So United and the Houston Airport System, we intend to change that. What we intend to do, and at the bottom, and I'll give you some close-ups in a minute, we're going to build 3 piers for the terminal. And this is a rendering of how the terminal will be expanded, and this is, you see still going up in this part right now. This is the interior rendering of the terminal after it's renovated. It's going to look sort of like a small version of Terminal E, which was built a few years ago, with the high ceilings, a lot of glass. So it'll be a much better experience for passengers who are waiting on regional jet flights. Here's another rendering. We're also going to add a lot more food concessions into the terminal, so it'll be a much more pleasant experience than it is now. Because actually, Terminal B is the number one complaints from passengers. When people could give complaints, we do read all of them. And this terminal is one of our number 1 complaints right now. Next, I'm going to talk about the Airbus 380 that's arriving here August 1st. The Airbus 380 is going to be operated by Lufthansa, the German national airline. The particular Airbus 380 they're sending to Bush Intercontinental will hold 526 passengers. Their current 747 that they send here only holds about 360 passengers, so it's a huge jump over the size of the aircraft they're currently sending here. To give you and this is the seat layout for the Airbus 380, the main deck holds more passengers than the entire 747 they send here today. The main deck on the 380 will hold 420 passengers. The upper deck, which will only have business and first class seating, will hold 107 passengers. So it's a huge leap in size. The way we describe it as a 737 on top of a 747, and then some is the size. Lufthansa is very conservative in how they have their 380 configured, as we call it, the interior fittings. But some of the 380 operators around the world have features such as double beds in private compartments for passengers. That's what Singapore does. Showers for first class passengers. Air France has an art gallery on their 380. But to get those features, you're not going to be a coach. You're going to be in business or first. And if you want to take a trip on this first flight, And actually, Lufthansa flights through the month of October are 70% booked already. But if you want to fly an economy, that's not too bad. That's about $1,200 last time I looked 2 weeks ago. You want to do business? It's about $9,000. You want to do first? Anybody guess how much first class is going to cost?
14,000.
20.
It's 17. When it first went on sale 6 months ago, it was $18,900. They lowered it a tad to 17,000, but they're mostly sold out for the month of October, the month of August. So, you know.
Okay, all right, you gotta explain that. Why?
Oh, and it's a good thing for Houston. It's a great thing for Houston. That's one reason why Lufthansa wants to desperately bring this aircraft here. Houston has a problem that other large hub U.S. airports don't have. We can easily fill up business in first class in this city, whereas most other cities struggle to fill up business in first class. Why? Because of our energy sector. If you're working for Exxon, BP, wherever, and you're working in, for example, guys who are working in Russian oil fields might take this flight, or they might connect through Frankfurt to go to Africa. You're working on $1 billion oil project. What's $20,000? And it's a great thing for our city, because that's why we have Emirates in Singapore and Qatar and some other airlines, and they love Houston because they fill up their business in first class sections almost every day. So. In order to accommodate the Airbus 380, we're in the process of doing a lot of airfield improvements for the aircraft. One of the problems we have with the 380 is that its engines hang over outside of our runways and our taxiways. So over the last few years, we've been upgrading some runways and some taxiways, and this widening project will continue, of runways and taxiways will continue over the next 5 to 6 years. And we have to do this because if the engines overhang off the side of taxiways, it'll kick up what we call foreign object debris, which is rocks and dirt. And if those rocks and dirt are sucked into another aircraft's engine, a tiny rock can cause $20 million worth of damage. So that's why we have to widen the pavement for our taxiways and runways. Now, to park the aircraft, we also had a problem. We had no gates that can accommodate it. So what we're doing is we're going to park it across 2 gates, gates 11 and gates 12 at Terminal B. So we're parking it at an angle to fit it in. We also have to, and you'll see pictures in a minute, had to add a new jet bridge that could reach the upper deck of the 380 because we had no bridges that could reach the upper deck. So, and we also had to do some other improvements. I mentioned upper deck bridge. Because we're parking a different angle, we had to move the fuel pits that we connect to fuel the aircraft. And by the way, going to Germany, they won't have a full load of fuel, but that aircraft can hold up to 72,000 gallons of fuel if it's going full distance. Safegate leading system. This is a docking system. Have you ever wondered? You sometimes see the guys with the little wands, but generally what is modern, used in most modern airports, you have what's called a docking system. We call it red light, green light. There's these signals on the building so the pilot knows where to stop at. And so we're upgrading that system for Terminal B too as part of this project. We don't want any planes and buildings touching. We also have to upgrade the preconditioned air. What that is, if you ever see the yellow hoses they roll out and plug into the planes, what those do, those pump air-conditioned air into the planes in the summertime, or in the wintertime, heat into the airplanes when the engines aren't running. The 380 is a kind of peculiar plane in that it's so big we had to plug 2 holes in instead of 1 hole, so we had to upgrade that system for it. Also power. You sometimes also see the ramp guys plug a plug into the plane. That provides electricity to the plane when it's parked at the gate. Well, some wide-body planes such as 747 have 2 plugs. The 380 has 4. And the reason for that, if they test all the systems on a plane, there's 526 TVs on a plane, 1 for each passenger. So that's an extra electrical load. So we have more power requirements for the plane, so we're upgrading the building's electrical system for that. Where are we at in this project? Design's done, we got funding. The fuel hydrants will be done in about a week to 10 days. They're in the ground, we just have to pour the concrete. The passenger loading bridge was installed yesterday, and I'll show some shots of that in a second. And we're doing a power upgrade and preconditioned air upgrades. Those will be done in a couple weeks. We're going to commission the gate, as we call it, on July 26th. That's when we'll do some tests on it. And the first 380 is coming August 1st. Now, it's not a clear shot. I took this from my camera phone yesterday. This is when a crane brought the bridge, was mounting the bridge yesterday for the upper level. The bridge is manufactured in Fort Worth and came on 4 semi-trucks. Picture of the crane installing it. And also it has a long walkway. Because the bridge, the upper deck is so high, we have to have a long walkway to get to a right level for wheelchairs, because we can't have too steep of an angle for passengers who are in wheelchairs. Here's a rendering of how the aircraft will look when it's parked at Terminal D on August 1st. Now we also are doing some internal improvements in the terminal. Terminal D was built in 1990, but let's just say the Houston Airport system has not done any improvements in the terminal since it was built. The carpet hasn't been changed, and there's some other basic housekeeping things we need to do. And one reason we need to do that is because passengers in these aircraft, not only are they paying $17,000 or $18,000, but also the airports at the other end are some of the best airports on the planet. Have you guys ever been to any airports in China or the Middle East, such as Hong Kong or Singapore or Middle Eastern airports? Okay. These airports have, I cannot describe it.
Royalty class.
Well, no, that's not even describing it.
Okay.
I was in Beijing last year. These airports have ponds in the middle of with gardens and bridges, and walking bridges in the middle of the terminal. They have waterfalls. I mean, they're incredible. So the passengers come from that to Terminal D, and they're like, we thought this was a world-class city. So we're going to have to do this is the first of some major upgrades we're going to do to Terminal D. And we're going to start just by doing some minor upgrades with carpeting, painting, new display monitors for your flights, and some artwork in the terminal. This is a rough rendering. It's not going to look exactly like this, but of how the whole room will look when the first Airbus 380 flight arrives in August. But longer range, to maintain a world-class airport, we're going to have to we won't quite get on par to the international airports, but we at least want to be on par with our domestic competitors. And our domestic competitors have been spending billions of dollars in the last decade on their airports, and we haven't. Dallas built a brand new international terminal a couple years ago. Atlanta's just opened about a month ago. LAX is spending $2.8 billion on a new terminal that will open in 12 months. And so we are far behind our domestic competitors. And this is some renderings of some of the early sketches we have for the terminal renovations we're doing. One thing we're planning to do is build a pier where we can have a better passenger experience, better lounges for the international carriers, and some other amenities for the passengers. Also, we are working on a few other projects right now at Intercontinental Airport. In the old rental car area along Will Clayton, we're going to be building Echo Park, which is additional economy parking in the $5 to $6 range. We also are in negotiations right now with the owner of the airport, Marriott, to do a multi-million-dollar renovation of the hotel, which will make it more of a world-class hotel. The renovation will look more like if you're in any of the W chain hotels, which are these kind of trendy, more modern hotels. That's the way the hotel will look after the renovation. And then finally, in about a year, you'll be seeing new roadway signage going up on the roads leading to the airport. Our signs are 40 years old and look really bad. And United and also City Council want us to upgrade those signs as soon as possible. So those signs are redesigned right now. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
You got any dollar figures as to what these improvements?
Yes. The preparation for the Airbus 380 for the gate is $7 million. The total cost for all of the improvements in Terminal B, including for the 380, are $17 million. We're currently running about $1.5 million under budget so far. The economy has helped us because labor costs are a little cheaper right now. The airfield improvements are about $20 million over the next 5 years for widening the taxiways. Actually, I'll take that back, $33 million. $33 million. So that gives you a price range. The hotel operator is we haven't got to negotiate a final figure, but they're looking to invest $30 to $40 million into the hotel.
How about number of new jobs?
I don't have that figure, but right now, working on just the gate project right now, there's probably about 50, 100 people working on that project right now. There's other airfield projects going on. I don't know how many people are working on those jobs right now. The problem is we typically have between 50 and 100 projects going on all the time. A lot of them are small, restroom upgrades or other projects, so I don't know. I can't get that figure, but we probably can get you that figure.
Local contractors?
Yeah, Houston Houston-based contractors, especially for all our construction, is always dealing with Houston-based contractors. Yes, sir.
How many airports in the United States can handle that A380?
Well, right now, we will be the 5th airport in the United States to receive the Airbus 380. Right now, JFK, New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and we'll be the 5th.
We're very excited about that because we're going to have a big day at the airport where if you want to come see the landing of it, it will be sent out to the country.
Yes, sir.
You've done a great job to improve the look of the airport, and that's certainly going to enhance the public's first impression of the city when they arrive, especially if they're coming the first time. Anything being done to improve the look of the highways leading into town?
Well, that's why the roadway signs are one of our key projects. We want to, because that's the first thing, if you're driving in, it's the first thing you see. I think I'm not part of that particular project, but I think there's some other landscaping improvements that are going to happen on our property, on our airport property.
What about on the highways, on 59 and 45?
Well, that's up to TxDOT in the city of Houston. That's out of our control.
But we are meeting with them and keeping abreast of what they're doing. So
You need a modern looking airport and look at some of those highways.
we know we've had very
Thank you.
engaging conversations.
How do you talk about light rail between the airport and Houston?
Yeah, I met with Metro about 2 months ago. The issue is money. I mean, everybody, Metro wants to come to Intercontinental as soon as possible, but it's money. It's a lot of money to bring Metro up here, and the mayor probably knows a lot more about that than I do. But it's in our long-range plan, and we're working on our master plan now. We're going to be coordinating with them and preserving a right-of-way into the airport. That's all I can do is preserve a right-of-way, so if they get close to the airport, we can get them as close as possible to the terminal. But outside of that, I know it's in their plan, but I think there's no money now. Yes, sir.
The 380 that's going in here, is Dallas going to have one anytime soon?
No, that's something we have over there.
What I think,
This is Houston.
a lot rather than down
No
here,
doubt.
as opposed to out there.
Yeah, no. There's no 380 coming to Dallas anytime soon, which
We
DFW
need them.
is kind of
Nobody
upset
touches
about.
down here.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
With all these renovations, economic impact to the community, to the area, what are we looking at?
I don't have that number with
We
me.
don't have the number, but we know that it's going to improve the whole focus is to improve the area. So there will be an economic, we're doing an economic study, as soon as we get that done, we'll make it.
Yeah, we'll give you a copy of it when it's done. It's underway now. Yes, sir. Terminal B will be done from today in about 14 months. It'll be completed. We actually sped up the schedule quite a bit. Yeah. No, 14 months. It'll be done 14 months from now.
No,
They sped up the
earlier.
schedule. We sped up
Okay,
the schedule.
got it, that's great.
Any other questions?